Imagine a world that never sleeps, never stays still, and never truly stops. A world where everything happens at once, where information flows like a flood, and where our fingers can hardly ever detach from the screen. In this world, we live in constant connection. We're linked to one another, simultaneously, without pause. Yet, ironically, the more connected we become to the outside world, the harder it is to connect with ourselves. And when we talk about mental health, especially obsessive-compulsive disorder, OCD, this digital world isn't just a home, it can also become a battlefield, triggering hidden wounds. So, an increasingly common question arises: can a digital detox help those with OCD? Can stepping away from the screen calm the storm in our heads? Or will it only intensify the tension? To answer this, we can't just look at the surface. We need to dive deeper into how OCD functions, how technology reinforces its patterns, and how we can start to redefine our relationship with the digital world. OCD in the digital age, when the mind won't shut off and notifications won't pause. OCD is a disorder that traps individuals in a painful loop between obsessions and compulsions. Obsessions are intrusive thoughts, images, or urges that come uninvited, often frightening or disturbing. Compulsions are the responses to these obsessions, efforts to neutralize, soothe, or seek reassurance that everything is okay. In the era before technology was as pervasive as it is now, compulsions might have looked like washing hands repeatedly, checking locks, or saying certain words over and over. But in the digital age, OCD has found a new medium, one that is broader, faster, and more complex. The internet, social media, instant messaging, search engines, YouTube videos, even mental health apps. People with OCD can spend hours in front of screens, not for enjoyment, but in search of reassurance. Someone with moral OCD might continuously reread a message they sent, fearing they've unintentionally hurt someone. Someone with religious OCD might watch religious content over and over, worried their faith isn't strong enough. Others might repeatedly Google strange symptoms in their body, terrified they're signs of a serious illness. These are all forms of compulsions, unknowingly fueled by the internet's quick answers, but which never truly provide certainty. The digital world has become a place where OCD quietly thrives, with few people realizing that what they're doing is more than just casual scrolling. When technology becomes the breeding ground for compulsions. If OCD once revolved around real-world rituals like hand-washing or door-knocking, now compulsions have shifted into the digital realm. What's different is the speed and stealthiness. Not everyone will notice when someone with OCD checks Google 20 times a day about the meaning of a nightmare or reopens the same chat hundreds of times just to ensure nothing sounded offensive. The internet offers instant access to information, and this strengthens the compulsion loop incredibly effectively. A person feels anxious, so they seek answers online. When they find something that seems reassuring, their brain gives a reward in the form of temporary relief. But because OCD is never satisfied with just one check, that relief quickly fades, and the person is trapped in another search. This is what's called negative reinforcement, a mechanism that convinces the brain that checking is the best way to relieve anxiety, even though it actually worsens it. Technology isn't inherently bad in this context. However, when it's used by a struggling brain, it can become a double-edged sword, cutting deeper than we realize. Digital detox, more than just stepping away from the screen. The term digital detox is often misunderstood as simply stepping away from technology for a while. But for those with OCD, detox isn't just about turning off the phone or logging out of social media. Detox, in this context, is a conscious effort to break free from digital compulsions, the habit of seeking certainty through screens. Detox is a mental exercise that says, I don't need to check this right now. I can tolerate uncertainty. This is a high-level psychological skill because OCD hates uncertainty. Detox is part of retraining the brain's response. It's not about avoiding technology forever, but about creating a space between impulse and action. An effective detox teaches the brain that anxiety can exist without being immediately soothed through checking. And in this process, a person can begin to realize that the digital world is not the only source of security. We can rebuild inner safety, not from a Google search or a quick reply from someone, but from within ourselves. Why detox is harder for those with OCD. Undergoing a digital detox for someone with OCD often feels like facing a battlefield. It's not just about discipline or willpower, but about confronting the deepest fear, uncertainty. OCD is highly intolerant of things that are uncertain. And when technology provides quick fixes, the urge to check becomes overwhelming. For someone without OCD, a detox might simply feel like losing entertainment. But for someone with OCD, detox can feel like losing the only lifeline in a restless sea. Imagine a person with OCD, constantly worried that they've unintentionally hurt someone. They would usually open the chat, reread a message, and wait for a reply to make sure everything's okay. During detox, they're asked not to do that. What follows is an eruption of anxiety. Detox, in this sense, can't be done recklessly. It must be understood that the anxiety that arises is part of the healing process, not a danger to be immediately resolved. In this context, detox is not just about stopping access to technology, but about changing the brain's response to discomfort. Detox as a support for OCD therapy. Digital detox is not the primary therapy for OCD, but it can be a crucial part of the healing process, especially when combined with exposure and response prevention, ERP therapy. ERP is a therapy that teaches people with OCD to face their fears without performing compulsions. In the digital realm, this means facing anxiety without opening Google, without checking a chat, without rereading a post. Detox becomes a practice of resisting these urges and giving the brain space to learn that fear can subside without the help of compulsions. For example, someone with health OCD who usually checks symptoms online could be trained to delay checking for 10 minutes, then 30 minutes, then an hour. This is a gradual process full of patience, but it's highly effective. Detox helps dismantle the long-held belief that digital checking is the only way to relieve tension. In the long term, detox can be part of restructuring thought patterns and emotional responses, not because technology is bad, but because we need to regain control over how we use it. Real-life experiences, how detox paves a new path. Stories about the impact of digital detox are not just theoretical. Many people have tried it and experienced significant change. One example is Daira, a 29-year-old woman with contamination OCD. She felt compelled to research harmful chemicals, foods that could trigger cancer, and the cleanliness of household products. Every day, Daira spent over 4 hours reading articles and watching health videos. But at some point, she realized that her body was growing more restless, not calmer. On the advice of her therapist, she began a detox. No health topics on the internet for a week. At first, Daira felt panicked. She felt like she was losing control over her life. But gradually, she began to realize that calm didn't come from information, it came from trusting her body and life itself. Detox gave Daira a break between her thoughts, and from that pause, a new awareness emerged. She could live without knowing everything. Detox as a practice of presence, from stepping away to moving closer. Digital detox is not about distancing from the world, it's about coming closer to real life. Detox gives us the opportunity to be fully present in simple activities, eating without checking our phones, walking without listening to a podcast, talking without being distracted by notifications. For someone with OCD, detox helps restore the connection between the body, mind, and environment. Detox is a call to realize that not every worry needs to be answered right now. Not every thought has to be addressed. We can still breathe, even when not every answer is at our fingertips. This is a practice of becoming whole again, not perfect, but aware enough to not get lost in fleeting impulses. And from this practice, slowly, we begin to rebuild the way we love ourselves, not through checking, but through acceptance. turning off the screen, opening awareness. In the end, the question, is digital detox necessary for people with OCD, cannot be answered with a simple yes or no. The answer is, it can be an essential part of recovery if done with awareness, guidance, and clear intention. Detox is not about being anti-technology, it's about being pro-balance. It's not about disappearing from the world, it's about rediscovering your center in a world that keeps moving. If you're someone living with OCD, detox can be the first step in regaining control, not to erase negative thoughts, but to allow them to exist without always chasing certainty. Because in the end, healing from OCD is not about finding all the answers. It's about learning that you can be okay without having them. Detox, not just a trend, but the path back to yourself. Digital detox is not a magic solution, but it can be a small gateway to significant change. Detox is a call for a pause, to become aware of the patterns that have been running automatically, and to begin rechoosing the way we live. For those with OCD, detox is not just about the phone. It's about hope. The hope that life can be peaceful without checking, that anxiety can pass without searching, that we can heal, slowly but surely. So, if you're asking, is detox necessary? You may be at the perfect point to begin, gently, slowly, and with courage. Disclaimer: this content is intended for educational and inspirational purposes. It is not meant to replace professional diagnosis or therapy. If you are experiencing OCD or other mental health symptoms, please consult a psychologist or psychiatrist. Digital detox should be approached gradually and, if possible, accompanied by a professional.